Rob Kirkpatrick went to Midland. He went check out what's happening in the oil and gas industry. Here's about 4 minutes. I'm going to bring Rob in as well to talk about these people that are from here going over there and going to work.
This is Drilling Midland, presented by Ardco Equipment. Welcome to Midland. Some would call it a boomtown, and it's the current hotspot of drilling for the U.S. oil industry. We're in the storied Permian Basin, specifically the Midland Basin. It's also where hundreds of oil field workers from Acadiana are making their living since the downturn of deep water drilling.
You see all kinds of license plates here, and you have a lot of people here who haven't been here. And one of the interesting things about Midland as a community is how it was built, with just the amazing generosity of those early families who built the first office building so people would have a place to office, that built the first hotel so they would have a place to meet, and their families are still here.
Kathy Shannon is the director of the Permian Basin Petroleum Museum, an expansive facility that shows the whole history of the oil and gas industry in Texas. And I mean the whole history, starting back in the prehistoric days where present-day West Texas and New Mexico were covered in water as the Permian Sea. But now the water's been replaced with 18-wheelers and drivers intent on making their living here. 2-bedroom apartments leasing for $2,500 a month. High school graduates making $100,000 a year. The thousands of people taking a toll on the way of life in Midland, forcing locals to question whether or not to stay here themselves.
But we have such stress on our schools, on our hospital, on our infrastructure, on our roads. There's not enough housing, and so the gouging on, the apartment prices. I mean, we pay the highest price for gasoline in the entire state. I'm getting ready to leave town and head towards Austin, and I'm going to fill up somewhere between here and there because it's cheaper.
There's a ton of activity in Midland, but they experience ups and downs just like any other oil town. Currently, they're having a hard time filling service jobs. Since we've been here, we've already seen signs offering thousands of dollars in sign-on bonuses. It's a welcome sight here. But Kathy told us stories from the 80s, which, if you were in Lafayette during that time, will sound very, very familiar.
Well, the 80s was really tough. 2006 was tough, but the 80s, literally, you could drive through town and see partially started buildings that just were abandoned, partially started homes that they just walked away from. It's tough, and I do believe now that because the industry is so technology-driven, it will be a slightly smoother ride. I am not going to stand here and tell you there won't be a bus, because you've got OPEC. You've got a big player in there that we have no control over.
So how long will the oil last? There were people who were warned not to get into oil because in 20 years or so there wouldn't be any more oil. Well, here we are in 2018, and this area is booming. They're building houses as fast as they can, all sorts of alternative housing options, yet people here still long for the Midland they love.
The nice thing is having this influx of young people to come in, and it just makes it vibrant. Yeah. And so we're really excited that these younger folks are coming back and moving in and having their families here, and it looks like they're in for the long haul.
The Midland-Odessa area is packed with temporary workers, but they have to eat here. They have to be entertained here, and they send money home to support families in Louisiana. They support a whole economy here in Midland. But the locals want the workers to treat Midland as if it's their own hometown.
We would love to have that happen. We really would. And it's just different.
On the next episode of Drilling Midland, Ralph Mackingvale, president of Permian Lodging. He's a veteran of the Louisiana oil field who has found his place in the heart of the Permian Basin oil boom. He calls it the best business climate for oil and gas he's ever seen. Drilling Midland, presented by Ardco Equipment. When the only road is no road, it's Ardco Equipment.
All right, we're bringing Rob. Rob, that's pretty interesting, the boom there. I know people, people have seen that here back in the day.
Very similar. You'd be surprised how similar the feeling is of the same excitement, the same. You're just so encouraged, I guess. And the one thing that I came away from, and we're going to talk to another guy, Ralph Mackingvale, who owns a corporate housing place out there. He talks about Texas. A lot of my questions were about the difference in Louisiana and Texas, regulatory, legal, coastal issues, everything else. And the number one thing he says is, this guy, Ralph, who we're going to be talking about in the next episode, He worked here for 35 years out of Lafayette. He had 5 crew boats, okay? Ends up selling much of the crew boat business, goes up there, starts building housing, and he goes, I've never seen it like this, number one, because there's just wells.
It's a small community.
There's wells. It's a small community. It's about, I would say, people-wise, it's the size of a Lafayette, but it's spread out, way spread out. And he just said, here's the deal with Texas. Texas makes it hard to do business here, but they want you to. So, yes, you have to jump through a million hoops, but they're also encouraging. He said, unfortunately, you just don't have that in Louisiana anymore. And so when I asked specifically about the lawsuits, the legacy lawsuits, he kind of laid out a 6-point, deal. Here are the 6 things that matter. A lot of it has to do with worldwide unrest, whether you have wars going on in the Middle East, whether you have that. He talks about local lawmakers, of course, natural disasters, regulations, and he goes, here, they view the lawsuits thing in the same category as regulations, because there are a bunch of different cities. He goes, it's why you don't see us doing this in California. You would have to jump through so many hoops, But the thing that really stood out was how much cheaper it is to do business there, because you're not dealing with the safety issues of deep water drilling. You're not having to have people Coast Guard certified. You're not spending the thousands of dollars per employment for safety training. And here's the deal. No matter where you look, Moon, there's an oil well. I mean, you could see in the video at KPEL965.com, you might be at a restaurant, and there is a working pump in the parking lot. It's everywhere. I mean, it's everywhere. And, of course, fracking. A lot of people are worried about fracking here because we don't know so much about it. We know it's getting the oil out, but what is it doing to the area where they're fracking?
We've had some fracking, I think, in Shreveport.
We sure have.
And that was a big boom up there at one time.
The part about it, every time I kept asking, so what does it mean to you for the Louisiana industry? What does it mean? What does it mean? They would say, why? They asked themselves why they would try to reinvest here when it's so easy there right now. They don't have enough space to put the oil when they get it out the ground there. It has to be trucked out. The cost is plummeting. It's getting cheaper and cheaper to do it there. All these other companies, including many, Hatco's one from Lafayette, that moved 2 of their big buildings out there. We spent some time out at their pipe yard, and it's just action, no matter where you look. Some people wanted, when I got back, they said, all right, what's your...
But you interviewed a lot of Louisiana people that are over there working.
That was the point.
It's okay.
And they're not moving there, and the companies don't necessarily want them to move there, because once you move there, then you get involved in watching TV, and let me tell you, you can't go 100 yards without seeing a billboard recruiting for another company. We had in that piece, $3,000 sign-on bonus to be a cashier at a gas station. Because
Brandon put his head down like, I can get a pay raise.
But that's the deal. They have all this stuff. They have every amenity you ever wanted, but they don't have the people to work at them. And so they're having to pay, like McDonald's, fast food. I mean, they're paying $19, $20 an hour and bringing you and picking you up for work and bringing you home because they can't get people there. So it's a whole different mindset.
Yeah, but I heard you say on the deal they building a lot of houses. They plan on some people staying there. They wouldn't be building those houses if they didn't think people would eventually move there.
Well, and the deal is they're charging so much. You have to think about the people who don't work in the oil industry, who are just teachers, whatever. They have to pay for rent too. So it's interesting. The story I expected to get when I went there was, hey, we're here for now, but we're going to be back in Louisiana as soon as we can.
Didn't get that.
Did not get that because they see all the obstacles. I didn't realize about a lot of these, rigs, and I know there are all kind of different rigs. Some take longer than others, but some might take a year or more just to get back online. So even to get a whole crew to leave the solid work to come down here, they said they don't see themselves even doing it until it ran out, until there was no oil up there.
I was told for us to ever get back up and running here, some people believe it never comes back. Mm-hmm. Okay, I want to stay optimistic that some of it comes back, but they were telling me that the problem's going to be is you had people leave the business. They said, the heck with it, I'm not going through and up and down all companies again. And then you had some go over there. I ran into a guy who had a business here for 29 years.
Yep.
He'd have been great for your story.
Yep.
And he said, man, I got to move my whole family over there. He said, I've been doing my bit. He said, he don't even have his business anymore.
Yep.
He's just going over there to go to work.
Go to work. And there's a need for anything. When I started asking, okay, so what kind of people are you looking for?
People.
If you can hold a shovel. People. Yeah. And I learned a lot about fracking while I was there just because, we hear it. They weren't doing it so much here where we were watching it and knowing a lot of people. But a lot of things when it comes to the cost, which we know that's what all business is. It's all about how you can make money.
Absolutely.
That they use a lot of the existing holes in the ground for fracking operations. And I didn't realize that. They could go into something that's already
You gave me an idea. We got a lot of holes in the ground, and we like to build lakes and reservoirs. We just come fill up the water, build some homes around it, and call it a Poverty Point.
Did you know?
Let me take a break.
Yeah,
I'll hold you one more segment,
good.
though. If somebody wants to call and ask Rob a question, he actually went there. Maybe somebody listening works there and is back home. You can call in 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. We'll take a break. We'll do one more segment. Well, Rob, pretty interesting stuff, though. Really, I think people need to go to the website and look at what you did, because there's other things that you did that we didn't play yet.
Yep.
All right. Yep. So we'll take a break. Be right back. Hi, y'all. All welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. We're talking a little bit about Louisiana people, but Odessa and Midland, Texas.
There's not a lot of gumbo there, I'll tell you that.
No, Rob actually had a chance to go check out what was going on. But I'm glad you did. And by the way, go to the KPEL website.
Yep, KPEL965.com. Up at the top, it's called Drilling Midland is the name of the series.
But it's going to be more than one.
Yeah, so we were working on the second episode now. So the first one was really kind of like the history of what Midland is, and it's very similar to Lafayette. And some of the other areas too, not just Lafayette, really much like any city who ever had any type of oil. You experience up years and down years. But the statement was made to me, if you have a nail salon, you're in the oil business, because you're only busy when the oil is booming. You know, it's one of those things.
No, it's going to be a situation where people will set up shop, especially if you own it.
Yep.
People are going to want your service, from haircuts. I mean, simple things, haircuts, or whatever.
I'll tell you this. Here's how they kind of look at the outlook, and no one's going to promise you there's not going to be a bust there. However, they know that the oil is there. It's just the technology has to evolve. And that is actually someplace that these service companies in Louisiana are actually doing good things, because they need technology.
And fracking involved into the type deal where you don't have to go out deep water?
But even fracking, technology makes it better and better, cheaper and cheaper, easier and easier. We stood next to this probably 60 or 70-foot rig, okay? 3 miles away from downtown, because they do horizontal drilling. So they go down and then they go across. 3 miles away, they were fracking underneath downtown while we were there.
Wow.
There's oil all over the place.
All right. I'm going to squeeze in a few phone calls. Now, look, I'm going to ask y'all, we're not talking politics. We're talking oil and gas right here. So I just want to make sure people understand when you call.
I did ask about that, though. You
need to hear it. You need a head.
I'll hear a little bit, yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Let's go to Brian, the king of Abbeville. How you doing, Brian?
Well, the exiled king of Abbeville, Moon. You're talking about leaving Louisiana, going to Texas, all the work going on there. As you know, I was a loyal Louisiana guy for a long time, and finally had to leave and move back to the great state of Texas. And I'm telling you, over here, the boom is insanity. I'm living in Richmond, Texas, which is in Houston. I work all over. I've worked in the Permian Basin with what I do, working all over, and the jobs, the opportunities, it's insanity. Absolutely insanity with the boom that's going on here in Texas, and could be going on in Louisiana. And, I know you said you're not going to talk politics, but that's a big part of it for a lot of people.
Rob even said that they talked about legacy lawsuits, regulations, and all the different things that they have to go through here that they don't have to do there.
The distinction that they made was that the legacy lawsuits, it's just a piece of the puzzle, because it's a lot of other things, too, where when these companies were making money hand over fist, the lawsuits were kind of just a cost of doing business. And if it was profitable, every person I asked said that even if the lawsuit stuff didn't change, they'd come back. It's all about the profit. It's all about the margins.
Yeah. All right, Brian.
It's a different climate over here too, Moon. It's just a different climate with the schools, everything that they offer.
For sure.
Louisiana could improve it all. The people just have to want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. The king of Abbeville, I'm glad you at least come by and check us out every now and then.
Did he say go Cowboys?
He does. He's a Cowboy fan. You didn't know that?
I kept that part off the air.
He's trying to get that off of there.
He's trying to rile me up.
Yeah, don't say that. We have to bring Chris Reed in as the co-host. Let's go to Pat in Broussard. Pat, question and comment.
No, just a comment. You're making me homesick. I am from West Texas, and my father migrated down with the old boom offshore in the 60s. But our camps, our oil field camps, all of the families moved down here together. So it was like a big community came here. And now I would be willing to go back to West Texas in a heartbeat.
Oh, well, well, all you got to do is, if you go, you're going to see a lot of your friends.
Exactly. All my family's still out there. So, but it's just our whole community. It would be like the whole community here would move back.
But, but Pat, Ra was making a point, and we talked off there as well, but that he went to talk to people from Lafayette. He was seeing a ton of people from the state of Louisiana.
I'll tell you this. It was also funny because everyone kind of had a shared cause. There was none of this. Everyone is doing well. Everyone's optimistic. It's a shared cause.
But we still feel this way as Texans. Like, we still have hope for Louisiana.
Yep.
But we wanted them to share in the experience and not have to relocate.
Yep.
But sadly, I would be willing to do it.
According to Rob, the boom over there, a lot of people willing to do it. But anyway, all right, Pat. Appreciate it, yeah.
I do want to tell you one thing that I thought was interesting. So in talking, of course, I'm in the middle of this basin. It's all oil everywhere. A big part of this Permian Museum that I went to was about solar power, about water power, about everything else. And they said, okay, look, if you say you never want to have any of that, that's stupid. You have to think about it's not alternative industry, energy. It's supplemental. Because he goes, at some point, you could drive a Tesla all you want, but how many pieces of that Tesla are made with petroleum? Look at all the plastics. Look at everything else.
Everything's made with petroleum. Okay, the shirt you got on is made with petroleum.
So they say, well, what about all these solar panels? They're all plastic. That all has to come. So you're never going to totally be able to, unless you want to cook on a fire.
Yeah.
And unless you want to kill whatever you're going to eat with a bow and arrow and cook it on a fire, you can't do without it, in that stuff. And so I thought it was interesting because I didn't expect anyone to mention the dreaded R word, renewable energy there. But they see it as it's going to be something else we can do. And you look at all those investors, they're invested in it too. You can't pretend like it's not there.
The thing about it is I've always said, I don't care if all that stuff is good and it's competitive and you can do all that, but you can't come tell us this is the only way we can't do that anymore.
It's supplemental.
And that's what people like me get mad at. Yep. Okay, so this thing with windmills and whatever picks up and takes off, and it helps us, and it's part of it. What I thought it could do is help us get off of foreign oil.
Yep.
Foreign oil. And that way, when they want to nut up in the Middle East, they nut up, but we still fine.
We still do.
That's what I'm hoping for.
There's also a lot of talk there about presidents, okay? They love George W. Bush there, but not because he was a good old man. He is widely viewed as a failure in the oil business. But they liked what he did to regulations, and they liked how things. Same thing with Trump, and they don't have bad things to say about Obama so much, except they aren't even talking about the regulations. They're talking about his want to keep our oil.
Yeah.
He wanted to stockpile it here so that we have it all in the end. It didn't do so well for business.
Yeah. All right, Rob. Like I said, then go to the website, check it out, and you'll have more stories.
There'll be more coming up. Yep, right. Drilling Midland.
All right, appreciate it, folks. All right, we got to take a break. More to come. You're listening to the Moon Griffon Show. Hi, hello. Welcome back. Moon Griffon Show. Great to have you with us as we rock and roll. Your opportunity to be a voice is, things are rolling. 844-766-6607. Hickson has a hotline. All right, let's jump gears. Secretary of State's race. As you know, less than 3 weeks. Not a lot of, nobody's still talking about it. I talk about it, but that's about it, Brandon. I don't hear anybody talking about it. But we do have a race, and we got some really good candidates. We've got one right now. She is the mayor of Turkey Creek. Miss Heather Cloud joins us. Heather, how you doing?
Hey, Moon. I'm great. Loving these fall temperatures.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I bet it helps in campaigning when it cools down a little bit, don't it?
Let me tell you, there's a lot of relief for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, you run for Secretary of State. Tell me how you think it's going, and tell us what you've been doing, and let people know how they can get in touch with you.
Okay. Well, let me tell you, this has been one of the greatest experiences of my life, and I just want to express my sincere appreciation to all of your listeners and to you, Moon, for all that you do. But I want to tell you how fortunate I am and how fortunate all the other candidates are to be able to run for public office in this country, and even more so for me because, as you know, Moon, I'm not extremely politically connected, and I'm not the wealthiest lowliest of the candidates. I'm ordinary. And so for someone like me in this country to have the opportunity to step out and run for public office, I mean, that is the expression of the American dream at work. And it's just amazing to me because I know, and my friends know, that I'm just a ordinary country girl stepping out, doing something extraordinary. And that's a freedom. That's a freedom.
Well, it's also,
I'm really enjoying that freedom.
I tell people it's also kind of a calling. I wouldn't do it. And most people wouldn't do it. And I'm one of those most people that wouldn't run for office. You got to have people run for office. And then when they get in office, you just want them to do what's right by the people. You want them to do what's constitutionally right. And a lot of times we don't get that. You know, we get into rhetoric and all that kind of stuff. So I admire that you're running for the position. I know you're right on the issues for the most part because I've heard you talk about them before.
Yes. Well, I think that more now than ever, motive is what voters need to be looking at. Why is this person running for public office? Is it for, climbing the political ladder? Is it for financial reasons? Is it for notoriety? Or is it because they have, a calling, exactly what you called it, a calling to do what needs to be done? And right now, as far as I'm concerned, if we don't correct the problems in our election system, and I talk about elections so often because that is why I was called to run for this position. I have so much more experience that I could spend so much time talking to you about from the business side and the tourism side and, the archival side. But I tell you, we need good candidates, and I've said this before, rolling up their sleeves, but they need a fair shot. They need a fair shot. So right now, more than ever, I know that we need to correct the problems in our election system so that candidates, people just like me that are looking to run for offices know that the Secretary of State is going to carry the torch of election integrity should they step out and run.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Now, let's talk about why this office and why now. You have an experience I know you weren't real happy with that you had to really come back and win because of voter fraud, and I know that's a big issue for you.
Yes, it is. In 2000, so I'm a Louisiana educator and I'm a Louisiana entrepreneur. My husband and I started businesses in 2003, and we didn't buy business, we built business, and that's a whole nother subject matter. It's not the easiest thing to do, and there's so many regulations that make it very burdensome, and a lot of people just give up before they get the doors open on their businesses. But I tell you, I ran for public office because our town was basically being plagued with financial issues, and lots of money was just being funneled from our village government, and we were in dire straits, plain and simple. And so somebody needed to get involved. In 2010, when the legislative auditor said, hey, there's problems, somebody needed to roll up their sleeves and fix those problems. And so I was going to run for council member and decided to run for mayor. And we fixed those problems, and we are enjoying the fruit of our labor. And so I'm sort of a fixer. I'm not a complainer. I get involved and fix things. Well, little did I know, I didn't realize the problems that we had with our election system until I had a personal experience in 2014 when I ran for re-election. A lot of those fixes, you ruffle some feathers, and I ruffled some feathers through my first term because I had to repair and change some protocol in our office and the way that businesses do business in Turkey Creek, and make sure that, what is fair for one is fair for all. And, I ruffled some feathers, and so they got this guy to run against me, and they used every tactic in the book. I don't know what planet I was living on, but I just didn't think that the things that happened in my election would happen, that people would be so emboldened to do those things. And even more than that our justice system and our Secretary of State's office would be so complacent and just basically ignore the problems and brush them underneath the rug. And that was not okay with me. And I'm not running because I'm angry, Moon. I'm not running because I'm a victim. I'm running for Secretary of State, really, because just like I ran for mayor of Turkey Creek, there were issues that needed to be corrected. And, I felt like then, if not me, then who? Because nobody had the right motive, running for mayor in 2010. And, I question motive so often when I go to all these forums. There's some great candidates. I like them all. I'm not out to attack anybody. I'm out to attack the fraud and the illegal electioneering that plagues our election system.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Miss Heather Cloud, who's the mayor of Turkey Creek, our special guest, Secretary of State. offices, which she's running for. If you happen to win this, and I'm sure this is a runoff election. I don't see any candidate walking away and winning it in the first round. But if you happen to get a runoff and happen to win this, are there some things that you want to do with the office that you found out that you would like to change?
Certainly. I'm going to attack elections first and foremost. The Elections Investigation Division, whenever I turned in the evidence of voter fraud to the Secretary of State's office, I was told that it would be 14 days before they could even look at my case because there were so many investigations going on all over the state. Well, according to the Louisiana Election Code, you have 9 days to challenge an election. And the problem there is, at that time, there were only 2 investigators for the entire state of Louisiana. That makes absolutely zero sense. Can you imagine, Moon? 2 investigators for the entire state of Louisiana. Now today, there are 4, but that is not enough. That is not enough. So I will change up some of the funding to make sure that we have a expansive and effective election investigative team. And I will do that right away. I'm a woman who does what I say that I'm going to do, and so I'm going to tackle this voter fraud problem on the ground, starting with day one. I'm going to bring all the brilliant minds together.
So you believe, let me ask you a question, because I do. I think there's some more voter shenanigans that go on in big cities and things like that. Do you believe that? I do. I think there's some things that we probably can do something to go make sure everything is good and honest. Everybody tells me everything's honest, and I don't know about from the Secretary of State's office, but locally, I just think there's some things that we may want to look at. I remember when they cheated Woody Jenkins, and they cheated him, but nobody came in to do anything about it.
Yes. Do you know, Woody's a friend of mine, and Woody told me that after it was all said and done, he brought the evidence, just tons of paper ballots to Washington, D.C. for the senators to look at. And there were 6 senators in total that actually looked at the evidence. It was brought in on freight truck, and 6 senators out of all the senators looked, and their average time that they spent time looking through the evidence was 4 minutes each. That's a problem, and that's Republicans and Democrats, and he pointed that out, and he pointed out repeatedly. This is on both sides of the aisle. But just to tell you, is this happening all over the state? Well, I can give you a great example that'll just point to a definite yes. When I qualified for Secretary of State, one of the first things that happened when I announced on social media, a gentleman from the South contacted my campaign and offered to sew up some parishes for me in the South of Louisiana, and he would do it for me for little of nothing. He was basically offering to buy votes for my campaign. And the more I would question him, the more that he wanted to talk on the phone rather than through social media correspondence and private messaging. So I brought this up at a forum in Lafayette, and I asked the other candidates to take a pledge not to participate in anything that's shady or suggests illegal electioneering. And when I did, A.G. Crow, who is a running mate, I love to call him a running mate because we're really not opponents. We're running, and we're friendly. And he said the same thing happened to his campaign. So take into consideration, we are running to be the chief elections officer for the state of Louisiana. And 2 candidates, myself and AG, have come out and expressed that our campaigns have been contacted and solicited. And so there were you kind of wonder if that was kind of a setup to see if somebody would bite. Sure. But do you know we've never been questioned? Neither he nor I have been questioned to get the details of what actually went on. So an investigation could be launched. So that just kind of shows that people are so emboldened and are not fearful to participate in the process that they would contact candidates for Secretary of State and offer to do some dirty work for them. That's incredible. All right. Heather, I know that you want to make some changes when you get into this, but, it's like anything else. You got to win an election. I'm not expecting a big turnout. I got to believe y'all are a little disappointed in the number of people that are excited about the race, which always opens to someone like you stepping in and going, hey, we found somebody, we like somebody, they could vote for you. I'm taking it, that's what you're hoping would happen, that people will look up and go, I want somebody new, and I like, quote, what Heather Cloud's saying. You are completely right. If it's like the perfect storm for me, for somebody like me to emerge, because I've been told that, this could be $1 million race or $1.5 million generally whenever your candidates are running for a year or 2 years for this office. And so that's not something, and isn't that, Moon, ridiculous that it takes that much money to run for a public office?
But the thing about it is money's the milk of all politics, and it always has been. I agree with you with the money, but I'm just telling you, it always has been the milk of politics. You got to have some just to get your name out there.
Well, I'm a small business owner and I run government and I run everything on a penny pinching budget. It's just how I run things. And so I'm so excited that we've ran my campaign the exact same way. Even if I had $1 million sitting in the bank, I just would struggle I would not spend it frivolously because that's just not the kind of person that I am. But just to tell you, we've spent, and I feel comfortable sharing this with you, we've spent about $16,000, and the Remington independent poll that came out in early October has me right around third, tied for third, and there are 9 candidates. So it can be done, and I believe that I'm the kind of candidate that appeals to just ordinary voters who are sick of being told who the right person is, So that's exciting. And then the time frame that it's all happening kind of rapidly helps as well. It is taxing on the body and taxing on the mind to travel the state in such a quick period of time, but it's also exhilarating at the same time. So I do want to just focus in on my last little bit of time with you because I always focus in on elections. That is where, I'm completely just devoted to is elections.
Yeah, the thing about it is for a 1-year term, you got to rerun next year. I would take it that whoever wins the Secretary of State's race is going to be the front runner going into next year because it's like, Kyle Owens is the interim. Whoever wins this is going to have a shot to win it the next year. And people tend to have a tendency to say, okay, well, that person's only been there, for a year. We may give them a chance, especially if they don't make mistakes. So this is an important election.
Sure. So if I get in, I'm not going to have any trouble in a year. People are going to be so pleased with me because I'm the kind of person that I actually do what I say that I'm going to do. And the nice thing about me, just like in the office that I serve in right now, I don't sit behind a desk and expect for people to come to me. I will be traveling the state. One of the greatest things that I want to do is get involved with the public, especially in the school systems, because voter apathy, Moon, you've said it, the low voter turnout. That is a beast within itself. So we hear all about the threats of cyber, and I talk so much about the threats of voter fraud and this good old-fashioned homegrown vote buying, but also voter apathy is one of the greatest threats to our country. Yeah. And so we've got to get innovative and creative and start thinking outside of the box to not only get people motivated and inspired to start voting again, and they have to just clearly, plain and simply, believe in a candidate. We see that with Trump. They believe. Yeah, they believe in him.
The thing that bothers me is we got a lot of ways to register to vote, but that doesn't mean voter participation at the polls, right. And that's what bothers me. I could care less if we don't have but one way to register. Go prove who you are and register, but it's getting people to go vote and getting people to care. Anyway, look, I only got about 30 seconds or so, a minute left. What do you want to tell the voters?
Well, I'm going to just compliment you. You are a rock star. Everywhere I go, Moon, people say, oh, I heard you on Moon. We just love Moon. We listen to Moon. I was with a Catholic priest just the other day, and he told me that he heard me on Moon. And
God.
I listen to Moon every day, and he was kind of, quiet about it.
Well, there's a lot of things, rock stars not being one of it. But if I got at least one priest for me, I'm feeling pretty good. Anyway, Heather, how can people get in touch with you? If people want to get involved in your campaign, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. I have the largest social media campaign. So through my political figure social media page is a great way to get in contact with me. Through email, heathercloud4louisiana@gmail.com is a great way. My phone number is 337-461-7729. That's a great way as well.
All righty. Thank you, Heather. God bless. Hope to hear from you again.
Thank you.
All right. We'll do it again. Bye. Thank you. All right. Michael Lunsford joins us. Mike, good to see you again, brother.
Hey, man, good to see you.
Give people the name of the organization.
It's Citizens for a New Louisiana.
Okay. Now, you're here in Lafayette.
Right. We're based out of Lafayette. This is really where it all got started. And we do, when session's going on in Baton Rouge, we cover session and what's going on over there. And
y'all did a good job. I got some stuff back and forth from each other. I know that y'all did a pretty good job on that. But you do cover local issues a lot.
We do. A lot of local issues right now. Well, the session's not going on, so there's not a whole lot to do with Baton
this might
Rouge.
be the first time since Bel Air was been in office that we didn't have a session going on. We had 7 specials and 3. I mean, we had 10 in less than 3 years, 2.5 years. Yeah, so, but you do cover a lot of local stuff. Any other chapters coming up around the state, or you think any? I know people are talking to y'all about opening chapters in other places.
Oh, absolutely. We've got people calling down from Lake Charles. I've had some calls from Alexandria. We have people in Baton Rouge that are thrilled with what we're doing in Lafayette, and they want to do it in Baton Rouge as well. So, I mean, we're kind of starting out in the middle of the state, I guess we'd say, and we're kind of spreading a little bit as we can.
If this spreads, do you want it to have like local chapters everywhere that you work together when it's something to do with state and national? But if you got a local issue, your chapter can get involved.
Absolutely, and that's where it's going to come in really well. Is next time there's a session, they're trying to pass taxes. We were able to get the Lafayette delegation to kind of come along with us. That's what, a couple of 5-6 people, but that's not the majority of the legislature.
I know some of them, by the way.
Right, yeah, we give them cover.
I know some of them, by the way.
Yeah, we give them cover so they can vote the right way, and they can blame us for it, and that's fine. That's what we're here for. But what we want to do is we want to expand that so it's not 5 or 6. Instead, we're going to have 50 people that vote the right way, and they can blame us for, hey, we can't vote that way because my constituents are going to get mad at me or whatever that is. And so we can keep our taxes low and try to get some of the business that's left the state to come back.
Okay, I know it's a grassroots organization. Is there a motto, a theme that goes with it, or anything like that?
Well,
what y'all trying to accomplish, I guess, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, really, our primary objective is to get government out of the way of small business and to regrow the economy in Louisiana. That's why we say it's Citizens for a New Louisiana, because we're trying to get back to pro-growth, pro-business. Really, Donald Trump is setting the model nationally, but we're not copying it here in Louisiana.
Well, the only thing I'll say, and you're right, we're not in Louisiana, but with Trump doing what he did and getting the Republicans to go along and very few Democrats, any corporations here were helped by the tax cut.
Oh, absolutely.
And so he was able to help some companies here. And, of course, Bel Air was in them, intercepted our income tax. I tell you, it was funny, Bob Mann, who don't know nothing about nothing about that. He was with John Breaux for so long. I mean, he's a man who knows nothing about nothing. Had always had a government job, still does. Said, where's my Trump tax cut? Where's my prosperity? And I thought, hey, fool. And I don't believe in calling a fool. I don't believe in saying that about people, calling them a fool unless they're a fool. So the fool goes, where's my, well, your government intercepted it. They took it because of our tax structure. Think about what I'm saying. And so he's upset about it. Mm-hmm. But yet, had he been living in another state, he might have got to feel that tax break that Trump did.
Right. Well, that's one thing that John Bell wants to change is he wants to make it to where your federal taxes are not tax deductible in Louisiana. That would, quote unquote, fix the problem. But to me, just because you're paying a little bit extra to Louisiana, you actually got back more than you're paying in taxes to Louisiana. So having your income tax deductible from state taxes is a good thing.
All right. Michael Lunsford, my special guest. Mike, let's talk a little bit about something that recently happened here, which could happen somewhere else. We had the city council. I'm calling it the Paris City Council, whatever you want to call it. One guy, I think it was Mr. Conk, came up with an idea. Free bus rides on election day for everybody. Now, the reason I'm bringing it up, that's a horrendous idea, but there's also 2 tax votes dealing with the city parish government the way it's set up here. And I thought, wow, what a slick way to get voters out. Now, I saw you. I know you nutted up. You kind of pulled the moon. You nutted up on it. But the point being is, ain't that against the law? Talk a little bit about what they were trying to do and what y'all thought they were trying to do.
Right. Well, the first thing I thought when I saw that was, okay, we have a parish-wide tax coming up, and we have a municipal bus system that covers just the city. Well, what does an election look like? Let's go back and look at the presidential election. Let's go back and look at the last governor's election, ward and precinct, and let's see the red and blue and how things shape out. Well, come to find out, about 90% of all the blue areas, which we believe are pro-tax areas, are inside the municipal transit system, and only about 10% of the red areas are inside the municipal transit system. So to me, just at a glance, it looks like electioneering. You're trying to swing a vote in a particular direction. Now, if you say, well, how do you say that blue is always going to vote for taxes? Well, if you look at the taxes that are on the ballot, 4 Democrats and Bruce Conk caucused with them to pass those taxes on to the...
Conk is
he's an independent.
When we say independent, he's a no party.
No party.
Oh, heck, I'm going to have to leave that party. So, I've had no party for so long. I didn't know Conk was over there. Right, I'm going to have to leave.
All 4 Republicans voted against putting those taxes on the ballot. So if you look at it that way, you say, okay, it's a Democrat-only tax, and we're trying to have a bus system, take people to the polls, and it primarily hits only the Democrat areas in the city proper and not in the rest of the parish. So it was problematic. Made some phone calls, Secretary of State. He reached out to the Attorney General's office.
What did he say? Now, I saw Ardoin say it was against the law.
Yeah, Ardoin just flat out said,
he said
this is electioneering.
Yeah.
And electioneering.
And then Landry came back
right?
the day, he said the same thing. Didn't he say it was against the law?
Yeah, he said it's electioneering.
So you really think they would have called all these people and said, look, you can get a free ride to the polls?
Yeah, I don't even know if it would have had an impact. You know, honestly, if you don't have $1 to take the bus to the polls, in fact, most of the time where I vote, it's just a couple of blocks. I can walk. I say a couple of blocks, probably a half a mile. But my wife and I, we go walking, so it's not a big deal. We could walk over to the polls and vote if we wanted to. And that's kind of the way it is with these precincts, is they're generally not really far from your home.
No, so, they're not. I usually vote early, so.
Right. Early voting is a little different.
Well, I like to vote early, but I'm trying to get to the point I can pull the old Democratic Party and vote often. Early and often, but they never let me do that yet. So I show up for the poll. I show up in my precinct, Brandon, and try to vote again. They say, well, you already voted. I forgot I did that. You don't have to do that 3 or 4 times. They look at you kind of funny.
I'll be careful. They do more than look at you funny if you try it too often.
Well, no doubt about it. Michael Lunsford, my special guest. Mike, let's take a break. We'll come back. More to come. Name and organization again.
Citizens for a New Louisiana. The website is newlouisiana.org.
Michael Lunsford, my special guest. Yeah, I was going back to the bus thing. I'm glad somebody jumped up. I knew you were one of the first ones to jump up and say, Citizens for a New Louisiana. You were one of the first ones to jump up and say, hold on just a second, this don't look right. That didn't smell that didn't do the smell test at all, right, when you saw it, did you?
It looked like the old Louisiana. And we're trying to get to the new Louisiana.
Well, the old Louisiana is still, unfortunately, sticking around. And but we need to move forward. So you guys take it. Are y'all just looking at issues? Will y'all look at candidates and things of that nature as well? Or are you really looking for more for issue-oriented than your candidates, or both?
Well, really, our organization is set up to grow business in Louisiana. Okay. Although, we could probably partner with some candidates and do that. It's not part of our core mission.
That's not your job, okay.
So the thing that we are really trying to do is get the taxes lower to reduce regulation. And I think you were talking about that in the first hour. A lot of this is chasing people out of the state.
Yep.
And we're just trying to undo the damage and get them back in.
Well, and the thing about it is we do need an organization that's out there pushing businesses. I'm proud of Louisiana business. I mean, I brag about them. Some people, you do that because they advertise. Man, I've been bragging about business before I had an advertiser.
Yeah.
Because I know what we need to do to maintain the state. It is not raise taxes.
Right.
It's to help businesses grow. We talked earlier about Midland and Odessa.
Right.
Rob did a great job of talking about regulations, lawsuits, and all that kind of stuff. We're not doing it the right way. They can raise all the taxes they want. And I believe they raised $7 billion so far since Edwards been in office. But yet, people are not staying here. They still don't have the jobs here.
Right. Well, that's what raising taxes does. It chases people off. They go find a better place to be. I was having a conversation just a little while ago with a business manager, and he was telling me they're offering people quite a bit of money, like a raise, to move down to Lafayette to take a job, and they at first sound like, oh, that's great. And they go look up cost of living. They go look up how much does it cost to insure your car? What's the homeowner's insurance here? And all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, that raise just went away. And now I'm underwater again. I'm not making anything extra. And the challenge really is we've got a lawsuit climate here that needs to be addressed. We have, high taxes.
No doubt about it. But they keep saying we don't have high taxes. I don't know where to get that from. The growing the businesses, I think and y'all stepping up on issues too. Y'all believe that more taxes is not going to prosper Lafayette.
Right. The best way to increase tax revenue is to grow business. Absolutely. Because as business grows, their tax revenues going to the government grows as well. So as you increase the number of business coming to town, or into the state, as you grow, as you build new buildings, the property taxes go up. All of this stuff is part of the same process. If the regulations are too high and the taxes are too high, they can't afford to build new buildings. They can't afford to move to Lafayette.
Well, then your revenues, Michael, think about go down And then you go back to the people and say, I got to have some more money from y'all. Right. It doesn't make any sense. You keep the rates low.
Right.
And as businesses grow, you have more tax base, and you got people making more money, so they're out there spending more money.
That's right.
Spending sales tax money.
That's right. That's exactly the way we feel like it works, and we've seen it happen. You know, you're seeing the national economy doing just that.
And by the way, we have never, unless something's changed, we've never walked along with the national economy yet. And that doesn't make any sense. But we've raised plenty of taxes.
Oh, my goodness.
By the way, Bill Edwards said, we don't have to raise any taxes next year. And I thought, gee, thanks. Okay. How do people get in touch with you, either locally or maybe somebody listening in Shreveport, Monroe, and Alexandria, Lake Charles, wherever, home of Thibodaux, Slidell, Leesville, wherever? How do they get in touch with y'all to say, we need to come up with something like this? Because y'all will work with them.
Absolutely. The easiest way to get in touch is our website, newlouisiana.org. We have a phone number there if you want to call and reach out. We're also member supported, so if you are in a position where you can help us continue the fight, there is a membership option. There's an online donation option. If you're in a position where you can do a little bit more than that, reach out to us with a phone call or a contact form email, and we can chat.
And by the way, I know a lot of the people that are involved. They always get the facts that they put out. You're dealing with facts and numbers a lot of times.
Right. We quote them right out of the public documents. We chapter and verse. We get page numbers and
by the way,
things.
people get mad at them because they're reporting something that's right there for everybody to look at.
Right. That's true.
All right, Mike. Appreciate it.